Blast off, here we are. Hawaii, the state of clean energy on a Wednesday, the last show of our day on any given Wednesday, our best and our flagship show. Yeah. Woo. Okay, and today we're going to talk about principally wave upon wave of wave energy for Hawaii. With Pat Cross, a project manager of HNEI, the Hawaii Natural Energy Institute. Fabulous. Welcome to the show, Pat.
Thanks.
But we're not going to talk to you right now.
Got it.
We have something else.
Okay.
We have Lisa Harmon from Hawaiian Energy. And you can talk about a special training program. It's all about education, isn't it, Lisa?
That's right. That's right.
What are you doing?
Well, at Hawaii Energy, just want to remind everybody that we are the ratepayer-funded conservation and energy efficiency program, and we help all the folks in Hawaii, Lanai, Maui, Molokai, and on Oahu. And we've got a Clean Energy Ally program that supports our trade allies out in the marketplace, the contractors, electrical, mechanical contractors, the HVAC and lighting designers, building owners, and we support them through professional development workshops. That's one of the ways. And we've got Mark Jewell from Starling Energy coming back to visit us for some more workshops, September 9th through the 14th.
What is he going to cover? He's a very good speaker, a good teacher.
He's an excellent speaker and teacher. And we've got two new workshops. The first one is Mastering the One-Page Proposal for Selling Energy Efficiency. And the second one is Cross-Selling Efficiency and Solar Solutions. So we want to educate folks on implementing energy efficiency before they go to their renewable energy projects.
Is Rob DeVera-Turner going to be there?
Rob will be there.
He's always there. He's with us always.
He's everywhere.
He's everywhere. The guy, I don't know how he does it. Well, I think education is very important, and the remarkable thing is how people need education. I don't know if it's only here or elsewhere. At the noon hour, I went out with one of our other hosts, Kirsten Turner. Mm-hmm. She does a show about sustainability, and we took our camera out on Bishop Street, and we asked everyone we could find the same question. The first thing I have to say that of the people who we asked, only a small percentage would talk to us at all. Even though we had a big flag there, ThinkTech Hawaii. But most of them would avert their eyes or walk the other way, and they wouldn't talk to us. Gotta go somewhere, gotta pick up the kid, the dog and the homework, I can't talk to you now. And that was interesting. And then we found that the people who would talk to us were either people really working still, blue-collar people, or hippies, young millennial types, or serious senior business people would talk to us. But middle-class people, the people who work in the offices downtown, they were the ones who wouldn't talk to us. Then I want to tell you that the number of people, the question that I mentioned was, what does the word sustainability mean to you? Of the people that did talk to us, I have this on film. We did it off Jay Leno, it was the whole thing was jaywalking.
Jaywalking.
If that Jay can do it, this Jay
can do it.
Right, yeah.
We found that of the people who actually talked to us, a relatively small percent knew anything about the word sustainability, or what it meant to them, or how you practice it. And it was really, there was some that were brilliant, and wish I'd said that, but for the most part, they didn't have a clue. Now, maybe they were nervous in front of a microphone, but gee whiz, it came down to, we need to train people, we need to educate people in the state. We need to educate them about not only sustainability, but about energy. And what you're doing with Jewel and all your programs are so important. Right. We really need to train everybody and expose them to have them think about these things. We're never going to get through the energy initiative until we do that.
Yeah, and energy efficiency is a great first step to take towards sustainability. So yes, absolutely want to help educate all the ratepayers out there, and especially for the people that are providing the sales and services of these products, helping them sharpen their sales skills, and how to speak to the business owners and relate to the energy savings in quantifiable terms for that business owner. That really brings a lot more value. So as much as we can do along with promoting, helping to sponsor the Mark Jewell workshops.
Yeah. So how can we sign up? How can we get involved? How can we go listen to Mark Jewell?
Well, some of the other classes I'll mention quickly. Learning to See, that's Selling Efficiency Effectively. That's a great class. It's a one-day sampler course, and it's Mark's very strong suite. It's an overview of the efficiency sales professional training. That's on Wednesday the 9th. And you can go online to hawaiienergyworkshops.com. Folks can go on there to sign up, or they can call 808-333-7225 to register themselves.
Is that your private line?
That's the private, that's the BAT line, yeah, to energy efficiency.
I remember Kurt Kawafuchi, he was the director of taxation, and he got up at one of our programs, and he said, I'll help you. I'll actually talk to you, director of taxation, and I'll answer your questions. Everybody say, yeah, sure you will. Yeah, you and, 7 layers of bureaucracy. He says, here's my cell number. And all the pens and pencils came out. And he did that more than once. So, okay, that number one more time?
That number, 808-333-7225. And of course, they can always call Hawaii Energy directly too. That's at 839-8880 as well. We're happy to help them. So we'd love to see you or at any of our workshops.
Okay. One more time, the website?
hawaiienergyworkshops.com to sign up for the Mark Jewell workshops that are coming September 9th through the 14th. Some great topics. I mentioned some of them. We also have a financial analysis training course. That's going to be a hands-on full-day course for sales professionals to really walk through Mark's financial analysis steps and learn how to best present your sales proposals.
Lisa Harmon, Hawaii Energy, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. You're welcome.
And at this point, we can take a short break so we can switch out Lisa for Ray Starling, okay? And also say hi. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Donna Blanchard. I'm the host of Center Stage here on ThinkTech Hawaii. Center Stage airs every Wednesday at 2 o'clock, and of course you can check out our archives on YouTube or on ThinkTech Hawaii anytime you like. Why should you do that? Because this is an arts show that I believe is making a difference in lives. We talk with artists of various ilk. We talk with painters and writers, playwrights, novelists, poets, sculptors, dancers, you name it, directors, actors, of course. And we don't only talk about what people do, but we talk about how they do it. And my favorite part of the conversation, we talk about why they do it. And it's really common on this show to hear people say, wow, I didn't think about it that way. And it's very common to hear people afterwards who have seen the show say the same thing. And I hear all the time that people are inspired by the conversations that we have. So why don't you join us and be inspired too? That's Center Stage on Wednesdays at 2 o'clock. We'll see you Center Stage.
Aloha, how you doing? I'm Gordo the Tech Czar here on ThinkTech Hawaii, where we co-host Hibachi Talk, where we talk about technology and bring in all kinds of cool guests. Also, my co-host with me today is
Andrew the security guy. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching ThinkTech Hawaii, and thanks for watching Hibachi Talk. We also have Angus.
And the other lad is Angus. I bring in all kinds of wee things. Oh, look, you see my lips moving.
Aloha, my name is Miley Scarpino, and I'm the host of the Empower Hour. If you're interested in health, nutrition, fitness, here on the island of Oahu, want to learn more about places to train at or different trainers available, then watch my show on Fridays at 3. We have a great time, and I hope that you'll come join us. Much aloha. Now go get swole.
Last off, part 2. Hawaii, the state of clean energy. Pat Cross of HNEI, project manager there, and of course, my co-host Ray Starling, who just took Lisa Harmon's spot. And we feel that despite the different, impressions they give, it's okay for Ray to be here.
Thank you, Jay. I'm happy to be here.
So let's talk about wave energy. It's been around for a while, but it's had its challenges. HNEI is working on it now. Give us a status report, Pat.
Wave energy has been around for a long while, as long as we've had an ocean. But what's
relatively new is serious modern attempts to convert that energy into electricity. And so let's see, status update right now is that there is no commercial wave energy production in the world.
In the world.
In the world,
Oh.
right. There are places that, including now Hawaii, where we are actually sending electrons to the grid, but you can't, it's all pre-commercial. It's all not ready for prime
Still
time as
testing.
yet.
Yeah.
Very early in the emergence, we hope, of this new source of energy.
So, a lot of people say it could be the big deal. There's a lot of waves out there, a lot of energy in the
There's
ocean.
a lot of the wave energy resource, the potential, the theoretical potential is enormous, which is why, despite it being a very difficult challenge, engineering-wise, people are pursuing it because the reward is potentially great.
So what's holding it up?
It takes a lot of capital to build a wave energy device and test it in the ocean. You can create prototypes and put them in wave energy or in wave tanks around the world, but really to start proving survivability and long life and real world performance, you got to get it in the ocean at some point. And most of the companies involved in this are small. They don't have much money, and they need investments from government and private investment to make it go like others. But they need a lot of it. They need a lot of money to get something of the scale where they can really prove it out in the ocean.
So there's a certain amount of research and testing that still has to be done, but on what? I mean, what are the technical challenges they have to overcome?
There are still many, to be truthful. Just the physical survivability of a device in a rough ocean is, you've got, for the most part, a wave energy conversion device is going to have moving parts, and it takes advantage of the motion of the ocean to do various forms of power takeoff, but those are all physical systems that have to be prepared to move around in the ocean and do so for a long period of time. So they tend to break so far. So there's just durability efforts that need to be done. But there's also things like corrosion and biofouling that are inherent to anything you put in the ocean. And those may or may not affect the performance of the device. So there's research there. There's research oriented around the potential impacts, environmental impacts, in the areas where they're deployed. So there's a lot of work to be done before we're ready to commercialize wave energy.
You know, this reminds me of a visit I had to NELHA, the Natural Energy Laboratory of Hawaii Authority, one of the most obscure and unpronounceable acronyms I have ever heard, NELHA. You have to breathe into it, yeah. Anyway, there was, what do you call, what's that technology?
OTEC.
OTEC there. And in OTEC, you know, they had, the time I visited, they had different kinds of metals. It was material science question.
Yep.
That were, there's a special part, a transformer type device.
Heat exchanger.
Heat exchanger, thank you.
Yeah.
And the heat exchanger could be in this metal or that metal, and they were testing all these metals.
Mhm.
And the one that worked best was titanium. But titanium is very expensive, and so they were looking for something cheaper. Aluminum worked well too, but it couldn't resist the corrosion. And I mean, it was all a question of materials science.
Aluminum, yeah, does fairly well and is much less expensive, but not
Yes.
quite as good as titanium.
Yes.
Yeah.
So-
HNEI is actually involved in that.
Is that right?
Mackay Ocean Engineering
Yes,
does
right.
most of that work,
Yes.
but they get some of their funding through us. Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, it's ocean equals material science problems, corrosion and material. So it's the same issue, isn't it, as OTEC?
Well, there's certainly that similarity, yes. You've got to be able to survive in a corrosive environment.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I'm sure there are all kinds of other issues bringing it together, but before the show began, or this part of the show began, Ray was talking about a facility that he'd seen 15 years ago in Scotland.
Scotland, yes.
What was it like?
Well, it was a great trip just to find it because it was on a very small island called Isla. It's spelled I-L-S-A, Isla. And
It's famous for scotch.
very famous, we found out. You
Thank
take
you. It's a family show, Pat.
We took a ferry over, and on the ferry, people started talking to each other, and come to find out, everybody else on the ferry was going over to imbibe with the scotch over there. And we were the only ones going to look at this wave plant, which nobody had ever heard of. And when we got there, it took us a while to find it. There were no signs, and we knew kind of on a map where it should be. And we stopped a farmer, and he said, "Yeah, you're on the right road. Just keep going, and you'll hear it." And boy, did we hear it.
Mm-hmm.
What was the sound you heard?
It was, in effect, a jet engine that was not, the turbine was turning, but it wasn't because of a flame inside a combustion chamber. It was just turning, and so it made a sound like lots of wind moving back and forth. And what it was they had built a concrete bunker right at the waves or at the ocean's edge. And when the water would come in, underneath there was an opening, and it would rise up, and it would compress the air inside this concrete chamber. And up at the top, they had basically a jet engine that didn't have a combustion chamber. So all it was doing is just capturing the wind as it was going through. And it would, as the wave would come in and compress the air, it would blow this way. And then when it would go back out, it would suck it back. So it was an oscillating sort of thing. And it was...
Blowhole in reverse, yeah.
Yes. Well, it was actually producing power for the island. And it was only like 50 kilowatts, I believe. But
Enough to make scotch.
it was doing it. Yeah, so we took a look at that, and it really kind of inspired me to look at alternative energy sources. And so I've been up and down and all around, but I'm really on the energy efficiency side of things, the megawatt. So,
But there have been so many attempts, isn't it true? I mean, there was one, about this one off the northeast northeast tip of Maui a few years ago. Cynthia Thielen was behind this. I mean, she supported it. And it was Australian.
Ocean Links.
That's it.
yes.
Australian company put it together, and high hopes, a lot of money involved. And it was a big object there floating out in the ocean, and it had a lot of technology into it. But as I recall, it never actually worked.
It actually never got in the ocean.
Is that right?
Off Pauwela, Maui. And that company, unfortunately, is no longer with us. And that's been a challenge for wave energy companies in general, is just to stay alive long enough to...
There was one that was supposed to come here. It may have been this one that, I believe it was Australia, that they built, and they had it sitting there, and a storm came along and basically destroyed it. I mean, literally destroyed this thing before it could get put in place. And that, that's the other thing that you mentioned, that it's got to be able to take the big storms like we've got out at sea right now, as well as, do its thing whenever the waves are smaller. So it's a big deal.
There's actually, there's a commonality between your Scotland story and that device, and that is that both of those are what's called an oscillating water column device.
Right.
The one you saw is affixed to the shore, and the Ocean Links, and there's a company in Ireland called Ocean Energy that will actually be testing here in Hawaii, hopefully next year, that are floating. oscillating water columns. So it's the same thing. It's the blowhole concept. It's you're
Right, the
forcing
blowhole. That's-
you're forcing a chamber of air through a turbine. And
Wouldn't a
generating
fixed
electricity.
piece like in the concrete, that one in Scotland, wouldn't that be more stronger? Wouldn't that, be more resistant to storms and corrosion for that matter, as concrete would be?
Sure, it has that. There are pluses and minuses to many different concepts in terms of capturing wave energy, and certainly a plus for the fixed one is you can access it easily. You can access it even in relatively severe weather.
And you know where it is.
Yes,
On a given day.
the appeal to going offshore is there's more energy to capture out there, but there's more challenge.
Yeah. Very exciting, but one of the things you mentioned that I'd like to cover is that it's the mom and pop problem. As we've seen that in renewables from the beginning. Now, in certain renewables, the favored children get the research and development money. And if you're not a favored child, you're small potatoes, you don't get so much research money, you don't have much money. And I submit, going on the notion that tech will cure all, that if you threw enough money at motion in the ocean, I love that term, then you could make it work. But there's not enough money to do that. True. Happy to see in Kaneohe, the Marine Corps and the Navy, I suppose, are putting some money into it. They certainly have a facility out there and have been testing and playing with it for some years already. Yeah. But is that enough? Is there other research and development money coming from anywhere else? Are there mom and pop developers out there that are funded well enough to solve these technical problems?
Hopefully. Right now in the U.S., the funding for wave energy is coming from the Navy through some congressional money that was routed through the Navy, but also from Department of Energy. Department of Energy is funding wave energy in a variety of ways, some smaller scale component studies and resource evaluations and stuff, but they're also funding some of the companies that have reached a level of maturity where a nice infusion from the government might put them up closer to commercialization. So those are the companies so both the Navy and DOE have funded companies to come to Hawaii and test their devices. And these are companies that have a concept that's matured enough to have competed well for the funding.
The problem is in all of this, the competition, it's not competition like business competition, it's competition of technologies. And if I see that the public is adopting photovoltaic, that's where I'll put my development money. I'm not going to fool around with something that's unproven. If I see, this is not quite the same way, but if I see that wind is popular and useful in some places, I'm going to put my money into that. I have not seen that ocean thermal is going anywhere, so I would not. Would you put my money into that? And I have not seen.
If I had a lot of it, I would.
A lot of it. If you had a lot, it wouldn't matter, Who knows? Maybe Larry Ellison will listen to this discussion.
No, seriously, that's what OTEC needs is major investment to get it to the scale where it could be commercial.
Yeah, and the same thing with motion of the ocean energy. Yeah.
True. To answer your question, there isn't enough money to go around. There's a lot of good ideas out there, but there's a limited amount of federal funding, at least in our country and worldwide. Scotland is one country that's done a good job. They're pursuing marine energy, both wave and tidal, fairly aggressively with the hope of sort of becoming an exporter of that IP and the technologies.
It's not a comparison, but we had somebody from actually Blue Planet Energy on the show last week. Really amazing. They came out with a press release only Thursday, I think, and we nailed them on the same day we got them down here. How do you like, whoa, okay. They came down and talked about what they're doing on Blue Planet Energy, which is, this is their first product is, you know what it is?
Battery.
It's a Sony battery, Sony, like big credibility, Sony. And it's about the size of a DVD player, okay? And it has 1.2 kilowatt hours in it. And you can stack them up and, you know, connect them all and have lots and lots and lots of them. And they will act as a battery with all the reliability of Sony. And they use, I forget the name of the additional element. If you add this additional element to the standard lithium, then it doesn't get hot, it doesn't burn up. And so Sony has really gone the next leg on this. And Hank Rogers is trying to market this as a profit experience. He has rights in Hawaii. Other people have rights on the mainland. Sony is hitting the market with that. But it strikes me that in something like, you know, ocean energy, if somebody made a really high-tech, say, carbon fiber, you know, resist corrosion, titanium parts when appropriate, and had it modular that way, and you can stack them up or make an array across an area of ocean, either in close to the shore, maybe out further, connected somehow with some kind of steel connection or carbon fiber connection. You could, yeah, oh, it was on the TV, now it's gone. Okay, it'll come back. I feel certain, yeah, that this is the,
Blue ion.
the blue ion thing. See how they're all modular, they're all the same size, and you put them in a rack, they work together. It's very interesting. And he's going to roll them out, by the way, at the Asia Pacific Summit on Energy, 10 days' time. It really is the right time to roll that. But, you know, you could do a modular thing, right? And it would be small, and it would be, you know, high-quality manufacture, high-quality materials, and then it would work. But to do that kind of R&D takes a lot of money. Sony put a lot of money into this. You know.
I think, well, for wave energy, it's, there's still so much of a wide open question as to what the technology will look like. Once one or two or five technologies really start to show promise and they work when they're made of steel in maybe old-fashioned ways, then you can really start figuring that kind of thing out, is how do we produce these things using cheaper methods and bring that cost of electricity down.
So do we have the scientific ability, the technological R&D ability here in Hawaii? Assume we have the money, but do we have the talent to do the R&D here? Or is this something that has to be done somewhere else?
I would guess that we do have the talent in Hawaii. However, at least at this stage of wave energy, there are no Hawaii companies that are pursuing anything, at least anything that's at this level of maturity where it could be tested at WETS. I know there's a fellow at Oceanit who has a concept, but it's never really gotten past the small scale wave flume stage. So I think there's plenty of brain power here in Hawaii, but so traditionally it has not tackled this problem, at least on a commercial, on the commercial side.
This has not been a sexy thing to do, and so.
And on the academic side at the university, there are people who have been working this problem. But not.
And when you think back to the Wright brothers, they funded their own from their bicycle shop. They funded their own testing and so forth. And so when you start talking about, obviously if you've got a lot of money, that's nice. But if you don't have any money, but you've just got the will to keep testing, tweaking it, change the flaps or whatever to make it work better, and keep testing it, you could be, you know, the next generation of energy production here.
But, you know, you're probably going to need some electronics in there to make it work really efficiently. That's the special sauce in the Sony battery. There's a lot of smart programming in there, and it does all kinds of things. It does things that the smart grid would do if the smart grid were with us. It does things that new inverters might do instead of the new inverters, you know. In other words, it's like contingent technology. If you have it, fine. If you don't have it, the Sony device will do it for you. So it sort of fills the gap if necessary. And it could be the same thing here. So you would want to have, who knows, maybe some kind of leveling, you know. So the waves are higher now, they're lower in a few minutes. The tides, who knows what, would change the amount of energy that's available to generate the electricity. And electronics could help smooth the curve on that and give you a steady beat.
Sure.
Of direct or alternating current.
Well, just like with PV and wind, wave energy is going to be, you know, irregular.
Yeah.
It's a bit more predictable in the time frame of a few days kind of thing than wind and solar. So that's an advantage, but it's still an up and down source of power, and there's the possibility of flat waters, you know, where you're not producing. So. Sure, storage works wonders for all these sources of energy. They go up and down.
The chemical was the element began with a TH, like thorium or something. I forget what it was. Doesn't matter. It was something new that we hadn't heard before. It's a new kind of battery, so it's the same thing here. But let's come back after this break and talk about the problem of bad weather and storms, and the great likelihood that we're going to have big storms, more, you know, intense storms going forward, and whether this is the right horse to ride, knowing that. Do I beg my own question? We'll be right back after this break. That's Pat Cross of HNEI, Project Manager, and Ray Starling, my co-host here in Hawaii, the state of clean energy. We're talking about the motion of the ocean.
Hi, I'm Ethan Allen. I host Likeable Science on ThinkTech Hawaii, and I do this because I care about science literacy in Hawaii. I want to spread the understanding that science is a vital and interesting part of everyone's life. I want to make sure the broadest possible spectrum of people understand the beauty and the value of science and realize that science plays out each and every day of their lives. I want you to understand that science is fun. So we bring onto this show each week guests who are scientists, from astronomers to zoologists, and we talk about what they do and how they do it. But most importantly, we talk about why you should care about their work, why you should see that their work has value and impact on your life. So I hope you'll join us Fridays, 1 p.m. here on ThinkTech Hawaii. You can watch us via live stream. You can watch us recorded on Olelo, and you can see us each week. We hope you'll join us.
Okay,
scary.
we're back. We're live, having a wonderful break, finding truths you would never believe. So, climate change. You know, it amazes me that the media never actually connects all these really intense storms with climate change. They sort of leave it to the public to think maybe, oh, this could be climate change. It's happening all over the world. I mean, you could make a chart and a graph every day about this, and the media never really tells you. But I think for this discussion, let us assume that we do have climate change, that it's getting worse for the lack of a resolution, and that as it gets worse, there's going to be, you know, more inclement. Can I use that word, inclement weather? How about really bad weather? And bad weather is one of the problems about motion in the ocean, isn't it?
Sure. Yes, and the possibility of more frequent hurricanes, tropical storms, wherever they are in the world, is, I think most expectations and most models have those increasing in number and intensity. But really, it just, we already have the problem of needing to survive in rough conditions. And for the most part, wave energy companies that exist to date have been going after parts of the world with big waves, because they want to extract as much energy as they can. So they're off the coast of Scotland, and they're off the coast of Ireland and Portugal and Oregon, and that's sort of what they're designing toward. But there's There's also a place, we think, for designing systems that would extract energy in much less energetic wave environments. But then, even if you're operating in a less energetic wave environment, perhaps in the tropics somewhere, you might have to survive a hurricane or a typhoon or a super typhoon. So yeah, the problem's really already there, is you've got to be survivable in the maximum expected conditions for the area that you hope to commercialize. And so fortunately, we have a lot of data in most parts of the world to tell us historically what the wave environment has been, including the extreme events. And so you've got to design your device to those extremes. And now if the climate change is going to mean that we have more extreme events, then you might have to go back to the drawing board, but hopefully you have some wiggle room.
I guess what I'm saying, though, it's really an interesting thought, is that we still have, various options to develop, R&D possibilities. And at this point, climate change seems to be clear. And the increasing intensity of these storms also seems to be clear. Therefore, in selecting, the horse you want to ride, in developing the R&D for that horse, you want to make sure that the roof stays on. Mm-hmm. You want to build it in such a way so that it has resilience. May I use that word? Resilience against increasing storm intensity.
Yeah.
So I mean,
No doubt.
I'm not saying that this is the worst possibility, and if you don't build, for example, a PV farm so it'll stay on the ground, if it flies away in a heavy wind, you have the same problem. The storm killed the renewable energy. But you know a lot about storms, don't you? Tell us about your background, Pat. Tell us how you got to be where you are today. Tell us how you got in the studio here today. Yeah.
Somebody asked me to come, and here I am. No, just real quick. I was a METOC officer in the U.S. Navy. That's meteorology, oceanography. I started out in submarines and got some advanced degrees along the way in oceanography and meteorology, and I retired from the Navy and worked for a small company for a while doing underwater acoustics mostly. So I really don't have a background in renewables or in energy specifically, but I do in the ocean. So I don't know. We all take different paths. So,
no, it's true. And if you looked at the Energy Policy Forum and rolled back so there's hundreds of people attached in one way or the other to the energy policy or the industry. Look, the industry in Hawaii 10 years ago, none of them had any background. Really, very, very few.
That's right.
Well, yeah, I went to a marine energy conference shortly after coming aboard with HNEI, and I made the comment to someone that I'm new in this field, and he said, "Look around, we're all new in this field. It's a new field." So.
Yeah, you're not handicapped in any way.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's interesting how there's an intersection here between weather and renewables. Not only in this particular opportunity, this option, but in all kinds of other options. So I guess what I see is, well, what is HNEI, your project manager? Some of your projects must have to do with this. So what is HNEI doing right now about motion in the ocean?
Good, thank you for asking. Well, just a quick orientation on the test site itself. It's a wave energy test site, the infrastructure for which has been put in by the U.S. Navy. So the infrastructure belongs to the Navy. The funding for companies to come and use that infrastructure is coming from both Navy and DOE. And both of those entities, Navy and DOE, are also funding us at HNEI to support that effort in a few ways. One is to do the environmental data collection. So we're putting acoustic sensors down, hydrophones. We're listening to the ambient noise conditions, but also to sounds that are produced by these devices. And in the future, we hope to be collecting electromagnetic field data that may or may not be detectable from the cables to shore and from the devices.
I understand that the sound picks up the sound, and it sounds like this The difference between here in Scotland, it is in Scotland, it's got the whirling turbine sound has a kind of a Scotch accent, and in the US, never mind.
True, yes. No,
What's a
how do
hydrophone
I
look
even-
like? Does it look like a cell phone? You know?
No, a hydrophone looks like a bigger version of this. It's
Okay. Does it have email on it, for example?
It's like a microphone, only it's in the water, so it's a
Okay.
hydrophone.
Okay.
So anyway, collecting, we're sending divers down and looking at the ecosystem around the devices. We're looking at possible changes in sediment movements around the devices. So that's the environmental side. We're monitoring things to inform future regulators who might have to make a decision as to whether a device or an array of devices will have meaningful or harmful impacts. But we're also acting as sort of a third-party independent validator of the performance of the devices. So rather than just taking the word of a company on how their device is doing, we as an academic entity will validate that performance and provide those results to our sponsors and hopefully publish to the broader community per agreements with companies
That's
that we
great.
have
So-
on privacy and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But so we're looking at power performance, but we're also looking at what we've been talking about, which is just durability and survivability in Hawaii's wave conditions.
Now,
So
one thought, I'm interested in your reaction to this. Traditionally, these devices have been connected with surface motion, not motion down below. And it's, right? It's the surface is moving more than anything else, the surface is moving.
for the most part, yes.
Yeah,
There are
so-
some people who are looking at pressure differences with devices under
Okay.
the surface.
Seems to me if you're looking to avoid extreme weather or extreme wave action, you know, such as might break the thing in a million pieces, you go where there's less violence, and the surface is where the violence is mostly. So if you went down below the surface, it wouldn't have to go too far down. You know, just what, 5 or 10 feet maybe would be enough. You could get a softer, kinder kind of motion.
No, there's definitely something to that. There's an Australian company called Carnegie Wave Energy that has subsurface floats that are swaying in the waves, but they're away from the most energetic surface.
So you lose
region.
something.
You lose
but-
some energy, but maybe you gain in survivability. So yeah, that's what I mean by all these open questions.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
Well, Ray, it's that time again for you to try to make sense of all of this.
Well, yeah, we appreciate Pat coming today, and we'll have to have him back to talk more about what he's doing there at Kaneohe Bay. And is this the first type of unit that you've been associated with in your project management?
Well, yeah, I guess to this point, we haven't even talked about what's happening now, which is that we do now have, you mentioned, in years past, there was a company called OPT that deployed a device at WETS at the 30-meter berth. The Navy has now added 2 new berths at deeper water depths, 60 and 80 meters. And so there's 3 grid-connected berths in place now, and we have the first wave energy device now deployed at the site, again at the 30-meter berth, from a company called Northwest Energy Innovations. That just went in the water in late May. We've got company number 2, which is a device from a Norwegian company called Fred Olsen, which looks nothing like the first device. It will go in at the 80-meter berth as soon as the end of September, probably more like October, sometime in October. So, and then we've got 3 more devices slated for the coming years. The schedule is still pretty
And these are all
tough to figure.
pushing electrons, as you said, onto the grid right there.
Yes, yeah,
When they're working.
when they're working.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
Physically, where are
this
they?
first,
Physically, where are they?
physically right off the end of the runway at Kaneohe Bay, and fairly close to shore. If you have an opportunity to go to the base and stand on about the 16th tee of the Clipper Golf Course, you have a great view of the device that's out there now.
Right.
And it is sending electrons to the grid.
Okay, we'll
great.
have to leave
That's
it
great.
there. That's Pat Cross, HNEI, Project Manager. This is a moving target, but we'd like to move with you and learn more about it as it goes forward. Here in Hawaii, the state of clean energy. Ray, Starling, and me always looking, learning, finding, discovering, and getting excited about all these possibilities. Motion.